The hospital intercom crackled to life just as Marcus Webb lifted his daughter from the waiting room chair. Her routine checkup was done, her small hand already reaching for his collar, when the words stopped him cold. Code red. O-negative blood needed immediately. Pediatric emergency. All compatible staff report to donation center. Marcus stood frozen in the corridor, his 6-year-old daughter Lily pressed against his chest. O-negative. The rarest blood type. His blood type. Lily tugged at his sleeve, her eyes wide with innocent concern. "Daddy, can we help?" Before he could answer, the donation center doors burst open, and there she stood, Victoria Ashford, CEO of Ashford Industries, the woman who had shattered his dignity just hours ago. Her face was pale with terror, her designer heels clicking frantically on the linoleum. Then she saw him. The janitor, the man she had humiliated in front of dozens of employees, the man who now held her daughter's life in his veins. 6 hours earlier, the morning had begun like any other for Marcus Webb. His alarm rang at 4:30, the same time it had rung for the past 3 years. He moved quietly through the small apartment, careful not to wake Lily, who slept curled around her stuffed elephant in the bedroom they shared. The coffee maker gurgled its familiar song as he pulled on his work uniform, navy blue pants, a matching shirt with his name stitched above the pocket. At 34, Marcus had learned that pride was a luxury he could not always afford. He had a degree in mechanical engineering from Ohio State, had once designed components for aerospace systems, had once worn suits and attended meetings where people called him Sir. That life ended 3 years ago, along with everything else he had built. His wife, Sarah's medical bills had consumed their savings first, then their house, then their future. When she finally lost her battle with cancer, Marcus was left with a mountain of debt and a 3-year-old daughter who still asked when Mommy was coming home. He took the first job he could find. Ashford Industries needed janitors for their corporate headquarters in Columbus. The pay was modest but steady, the hours early enough that he could pick Lily up from the subsidized daycare by 3 o'clock. He mopped floors and emptied trash cans in the same building where engineers discussed designs he could have improved in his sleep. He never complained. He never mentioned his past. He simply worked. Because Lily needed him to work. And that was enough. The main lobby of Ashford Industries gleamed with marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows that caught the morning sun. Marcus arrived at 5:30 to begin his shift, his cleaning cart loaded with supplies. The lobby required special attention on Thursdays, the executive team held their weekly meetings, and Victoria Ashford demanded perfection in every visible space. Marcus worked methodically, starting with the windows and moving to the floors. By 7:15, he was nearly finished. His cart positioned near the elevator bank while he buffed the last section of marble. He did not see Victoria Ashford approaching. He did not hear her heels on the floor he had just polished. He only heard her voice, sharp and cold as January ice. "What is this?" Marcus looked up to find the CEO standing 3 feet away, her designer suit immaculate. Her blonde hair pulled back in a severe bun. She was gesturing at his cleaning cart, which partially blocked the path to the executive elevator. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll move it right away." He reached for the cart, but Victoria was already speaking again, her voice carrying across the lobby where a dozen early arrivals had stopped to watch. "If this is the standard we hire now, maybe that's why everything keeps falling apart. Look at this equipment scattered everywhere, blocking executive access, creating hazards." She turned to the security guard at the front desk. "Who supervises the cleaning staff? I want a report on my desk by noon." Marcus pulled his cart aside, his movements careful and controlled. He had learned long ago that reacting to humiliation only made it worse. "I apologize for the inconvenience," he said quietly. "It won't happen again." Victoria looked at him then, really looked at him for the first time. Her gaze swept over his uniform, his calloused hands, the gray threading through his dark hair. Whatever she saw confirmed something in her mind. Something that made her lip curl slightly. See that it doesn't. She walked past him without another word, her heels clicking a rhythm of dismissal on the marble he had spent an hour perfecting. The lobby remained silent. Marcus felt the weight of every stare, the pity and discomfort of people who were grateful they were not him. He finished his work with steady hands, loaded his cart, and pushed it toward the service corridor. Behind him, he heard someone whisper, "Poor guy." She didn't have to do that. He kept walking. In 3 hours, he would clock out and pick up Lily. He would take her to her doctor's appointment. He would make her laugh on the bus ride home. Victoria Ashford's words would fade like all the other wounds he carried. He had survived worse. He would survive this too. The pediatric clinic at St. Vincent's Hospital was always busy on Thursday afternoons, but Marcus had learned to navigate the chaos. He signed Lily in at 2:45, found seats in the crowded waiting room, and pulled out the picture book he had brought to pass the time. Lily was 6 now, small for her age but fierce in spirit. She had her mother's brown eyes and her father's stubborn chin, and she faced her monthly checkups with the same quiet courage Sarah had shown during her illness. The appointments were routine, monitoring the mild heart murmur the doctors had detected at birth, ensuring it had not worsened. So far, Lily had been lucky. The murmur remained stable, requiring only observation. "Mr. Webb?" The nurse called them back at 3:15. Marcus lifted Lily onto his hip and followed her down the corridor, past examination rooms and supply closets, toward the pediatric wing. They were passing the emergency entrance when the commotion began. A gurney burst through the double doors, surrounded by paramedics shouting instructions. Marcus pressed Lily against the wall to let them pass, catching only glimpses of the scene, a small form on the stretcher. Oxygen mask over a pale face, monitors beeping warnings. Female, age 7. One paramedic called out, "Acute abdominal hemorrhage, vitals dropping. Mother en route." The gurney disappeared around the corner, but Marcus remained still, his heart pounding with a father's instinctive fear. The child on that stretcher was someone's daughter, someone's whole world. "Daddy?" Lily's voice was small. "Is that little girl okay?" "The doctors are helping her, sweetheart. That's what doctors do." He carried her toward their examination room, trying to shake the image of that small, still form. But the universe, it seemed, had other plans. 20 minutes later, Marcus was carrying Lily back through the hospital corridors when he heard the scream. It came from ahead of them, near the intersection of hallways, followed by the crash of medical equipment. He rounded the corner to find chaos. A wheelchair lay overturned in the middle of the hall. A nurse was on her knees, shouting for help, and on the floor, inches from Marcus's feet, lay the same little girl from the gurney, her hospital gown twisted, her face gray, her small body convulsing. She pulled out her IV and tried to run. The nurse gasped, "I couldn't catch her. Her mother still isn't here. I need help." Marcus set Lily down gently against the wall. "Stay right here, baby. Don't move." Then he dropped to his knees beside the seizing child. His first aid training from his engineering days surfaced like muscle memory. He turned the girl onto her side to protect her airway, cushioned her head with his jacket, and held her steady as the convulsions racked her small frame. "Get a doctor," he told the nurse. "Now." The seizure lasted 43 seconds. Marcus counted each one, his hands steady on the child's shoulders, his voice low and calm. "You're okay. You're safe. I've got you." When the convulsions finally stopped, the girl's eyes fluttered open. They were blue, wide with terror, and filled with tears. Her small hand found his wrist and gripped it with surprising strength. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Don't let me die. My mommy isn't here. Please don't let me die." Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. He thought of Lily, watching from against the wall. He thought of Sarah, dying in a hospital bed while he held her hand and made promises he could not keep. "You're not going to die," he said firmly. "I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." The medical team arrived seconds later, lifting the girl onto a fresh gurney, attaching monitors, calling out readings. Marcus stepped back, his jacket still wadded on the floor, his hands trembling now that the crisis had passed. Lily ran to him and wrapped her arms around his legs. You helped her, Daddy. You saved her. Marcus picked up his daughter and held her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. Somewhere in the distance, he heard a woman's voice, high and frantic, demanding to know where her daughter was. He did not see Victoria Ashford run past. He did not see her face crumple when she reached the trauma room. He only knew that somewhere in this hospital, a mother was terrified, and a little girl was fighting for her life. The blood bank at St. Vincent's Hospital operated on the ground floor, tucked between the cafeteria and the administrative offices. Most days, it served a steady stream of scheduled donors and walk-ins, processing pints of blood that would save lives across the city. Today, it was the center of a crisis. We're completely out of O-negative, the blood bank coordinator said, her voice tight with controlled panic. She was speaking to Dr. Chen, the pediatric surgeon who had been working on the Ashford girl for the past hour. I've called 3 other hospitals. Everyone's running low. The regional blood center can get us 2 units, but they won't arrive for at least 4 hours. Dr. Chen's face was grim. She doesn't have 4 hours. The internal bleeding is controlled for now, but she's lost too much blood. Her body is shutting down. We need a transfusion within the hour, or we're going to lose her. Marcus was still in the hospital. Lily's checkup had been completed, her heart murmur unchanged. Her health excellent, but they had been delayed by the chaos in the corridors. Now, they sat in the main lobby, waiting for the crowd at the exit to thin. When the intercom crackled to life. Code red. O-negative blood needed immediately. Pediatric emergency. All compatible staff report to donation center. Marcus looked at his daughter. Lily looked back at him with Sarah's eyes, full of trust and quiet wisdom. That's your blood, isn't it, Daddy? The special kind? Yes, sweetheart. It is. He thought of the little girl who had gripped his wrist and begged him not to let her die. He thought of her mother, somewhere in this hospital, facing the same nightmare he had faced 3 years ago. He stood up and took Lily's hand. We need to go help someone. The donation center was crowded with hospital staff when Marcus arrived, all of them being tested, most of them being turned away. O-negative blood was rare, found in only 7% of the population. Finding a compatible donor in time was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Marcus approached the intake desk, Lily's hand still in his. I'm O-negative, he said. I'd like to donate. The coordinator looked up, her eyes scanning his face with desperate hope. Are you sure? We need a significant amount. It would require an extended donation. I understand. She handed him forms to fill out, then led him to a testing station. The screening took 15 minutes, blood pressure, iron levels, medical history. Marcus answered every question honestly, watched the coordinator's expression shift from hope to disbelief. Your blood is a perfect match, she said slowly. Better than perfect, actually. You have a rare antigen combination that makes your blood exceptionally compatible. It's found in maybe 1 in 10,000 people. She paused, seeming to weigh her next words carefully. Mr. Webb, the amount of blood this child needs, it's significant. You would be saving her life. But there are risks. Dizziness, fatigue, possibly fainting. Are you absolutely certain? Marcus thought of the little girl's blue eyes, so like Lily's in their terror. I'm certain. It was then that the doors burst open, and Victoria Ashford stumbled into the room. Her face was streaked with tears, her perfect hair disheveled, her designer suit wrinkled from hours of pacing. She looked like a woman who had been dismantled, piece by fear. Please, she gasped at the coordinator. My daughter, they said. Someone might be able to help, please, and then she saw him. Marcus watched the recognition dawn in her eyes. The janitor from the lobby. The man whose equipment had blocked her path. The man she had humiliated in front of her employees, whose dignity she had crushed beneath her designer heels. He saw her face cycle through shock, confusion, and something that might have been shame. He saw her mouth open, searching for words that would not come. Mr. Webb is a perfect match, the coordinator said, oblivious to the tension. He's agreed to donate. Your daughter is going to be okay, Mrs. Ashford. Victoria Ashford stared at Marcus Webb, and for the first time in her life, she had absolutely nothing to say. The donation room was small and clinical, filled with the hum of equipment and the soft beeping of monitors. Marcus lay on the narrow bed, his sleeve rolled up, a needle inserted into the vein at his elbow. The blood flowed through the tube in a steady crimson stream, carrying life from his body to the collection bag. Lily sat in a chair by the window, her stuffed elephant clutched to her chest, her eyes never leaving her father's face. She had not cried, had not complained, had not asked to leave. She simply watched, with the quiet understanding of a child who had already learned that sometimes love required sacrifice. Dr. Chen had explained the procedure carefully. The Ashford girl needed more blood than a standard donation provided. Marcus had agreed to give 2 units, nearly a pint of blood, pushing the limits of what was safe for a single donation. There would be side effects, weakness, dizziness, possibly nausea. He would need to rest for several days, to eat iron-rich foods, to monitor himself for complications. Marcus had agreed to all of it without hesitation. "You're doing great," the phlebotomist said, checking the collection bag. "About halfway there." Marcus nodded, fighting the lightheadedness that was beginning to creep in. He focused on Lily's face, on her small form silhouetted against the window, on the fierce love that had carried him through every impossible moment of the past 3 years. "Daddy?" Lily's voice was soft. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little tired. That little girl. She's going to be okay now?" "Yes, baby. She's going to be okay." Outside the donation room, Victoria Ashford stood frozen in the corridor. Through the window, she could see the man she had humiliated lying on a hospital bed, giving his blood to save her daughter's life. His own daughter sat beside him, small and patient and brave, watching her father with eyes full of love and worry. Victoria had built her career on reading people, on understanding motivations, predicting reactions, identifying weaknesses to exploit. She had climbed to the top of Ashford Industries by being smarter and harder and more ruthless than anyone else in the room. But, looking through that window, she realized she had never understood anything at all. The janitor was not just a janitor. He was a father, like she was a mother. He had a child who needed him, like her child needed her. He had a life beyond the lobby he cleaned, dreams and fears and loves that she had never bothered to imagine. And when given the chance, he had chosen to save her daughter without hesitation, without conditions, without any of the strategic calculations that governed her own life. The phlebotomist emerged from the room, carrying the collection bags. "We've got what we need. Dr. Chen is prepping for transfusion now. Your daughter should stabilize within the hour." Victoria nodded, unable to speak. She watched through the window as Marcus Webb slowly sat up, swaying slightly, accepting a cup of juice from the nurse with a tired smile. She watched his daughter run to him, wrapping her small arms around his neck, pressing her face against his shoulder. And Victoria Ashford, CEO of a billion-dollar company, woman of power and influence and control, felt something she had not felt in years. Shame. Deep, burning, inescapable shame. The transfusion took 45 minutes. Victoria spent every second of it in the hallway outside her daughter's room, watching through the window as the blood Marcus Webb had given flowed into Emma's small body. The monitors showed her vital signs stabilizing, her blood pressure rising, her oxygen levels returning to normal. The gray pallor faded from her cheeks, replaced by the faint pink of returning life. Dr. Chen emerged at 7:15. His face finally showing the relief that Victoria had been too afraid to feel. "She's stable. The transfusion was successful. She's going to need surgery tomorrow to repair the damage from the hemorrhage, but her prognosis is excellent." Victoria sagged against the wall, tears streaming down her face. "Can I see her? She's sleeping now. But yes, you can sit with her." Victoria entered the room slowly, as if approaching something sacred. Emma lay in the hospital bed, looking impossibly small against the white sheets. But her breathing was steady, and her face was peaceful. Victoria took her daughter's hand and held it, feeling the warmth of her skin, the pulse beating steadily at her wrist. "I almost lost you," she whispered. "I almost lost everything." She sat there for nearly an hour, watching Emma sleep, processing the events of the day. At 8 o'clock, a soft knock interrupted her vigil. She looked up to find a nurse standing in the doorway. "Mrs. Ashford? I thought you might want to know the man who donated blood for your daughter. He's being discharged now. He's in the lobby, waiting for a taxi with his daughter." Victoria stood immediately. "I need to speak to him. I should tell you something first." The nurse hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I recognized Mr. Webb when he came in. He works at Ashford Industries. He's on the cleaning staff. But before that, well, one of the other nurses knew him from before. He used to be an engineer. A good one, apparently. He gave it all up when his wife got sick, spent everything he had trying to save her, then took whatever job he could find to support his daughter after she passed." Victoria felt the words like physical blows. An engineer, a widower, a man who had sacrificed everything for love, and she had treated him like he was nothing. "His daughter?" the nurse continued. "The little girl with him? She has a heart condition, nothing serious right now, but she needs regular monitoring. He works 2 jobs to keep up with the medical bills. No insurance, but he never misses an appointment." Victoria thought of the way she had spoken to him in the lobby, the contempt in her voice, the dismissal in her eyes. She had looked at a hero and seen only a janitor. She had looked at a grieving father and seen only an obstacle. "Thank you," she managed, "for telling me." She walked out of Emma's room on unsteady legs, heading for the lobby. She did not know what she would say. She did not know if any words could undo what she had done, but she knew she had to try. The hospital lobby was nearly empty at 8:30 on a Thursday evening. Marcus sat on a bench near the exit, Lily asleep in his lap, waiting for the taxi he had called. The donation had taken more out of him than he had expected. His head ached, his limbs felt heavy, and a persistent dizziness made standing difficult. But Lily was warm against his chest, and Emma Ashford was alive, and that was enough. He heard the footsteps before he saw her, the click of heels on linoleum, hesitant now instead of commanding. He looked up to find Victoria Ashford standing 10 feet away, her face a mask of uncertainty he had never seen before. "Mr. Webb," she stopped, seeming to struggle with what came next. "Please. May I apologize?" Marcus looked at her for a long moment. He thought of the morning, of the lobby, of the words that had cut deeper than she would ever know. He thought of Sarah, who had taught him that kindness was not weakness, that forgiveness was not surrender. "You don't need to apologize," he said quietly. "I did what anyone would do." "No." Victoria took a step closer, her voice cracking. "Not anyone. I wouldn't have. If our positions were reversed, if you had humiliated me the way I humiliated you, I don't know if I would have helped." She paused, swallowing hard. "You saved my daughter's life. After everything I said to you, after the way I treated you, you saved her life without hesitation." "Why?" Marcus considered the question. Why had he done it? Because Emma had gripped his wrist and begged him not to let her die. Because Lily had asked if they could help. Because Sarah had always believed that the measure of a person was not how they treated those above them, but how they treated those below. "Because she's a child," he said simply. "Because she was scared and her mother wasn't there. Because I could help." He shifted Lily in his arms, preparing to stand. "My daughter's tired. I need to get her home. Please." Victoria stepped forward again, her hand reaching out. "Let me at least arrange a car for you. A proper car, with a car seat for your daughter. Let me do something." Marcus looked at her outstretched hand, at the desperation in her eyes. He thought of all the times he had been dismissed, overlooked, treated as less than. He thought of how easy it would be to walk away, to let her sit with her guilt, to take some small satisfaction in her suffering. But that was not who he was. That was not who Sarah had loved. "A car would be appreciated," he said finally. "Thank you." Victoria's relief was visible. She pulled out her phone, made a quick call, arranged for a company car to take them home. When it arrived 15 minutes later, she walked them out herself, watching as Marcus settled Lily into the car seat as he buckled himself in beside her. "Mr. Webb," she said as he reached for the door, "I hurt you today. I judged you without knowing anything about you. I'm sorry. Truly sorry." Marcus met her eyes. He saw shame there, and regret, and something that might have been the beginning of change. He did not offer forgiveness that was not his to give, not yet, not while the wound was still fresh. But he offered something else. "Thank you for the car," he said. "I hope your daughter recovers well." He closed the door, and the car pulled away into the night, leaving Victoria Ashford standing alone on the hospital steps, staring after him. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock Friday morning. Victoria had been dreading it since she received the emergency summons late Thursday night. She knew what they would say. She had abandoned a critical investor presentation to rush to the hospital. She had left Robert Chen, the CFO, to handle questions he was not prepared to answer. She had put her personal life ahead of company interests, and in the world of corporate leadership, that was an unforgivable sin. The boardroom was full when she arrived, 8 faces arranged around the mahogany table, none of them friendly. Harold Weston, the chairman, sat at the head, his expression carved from stone. "Victoria, please, sit down." She sat, her spine straight, her face composed. She had learned long ago to hide weakness in this room. "I assume you know why we've called this meeting," Harold continued. "Your departure yesterday caused significant concern among our institutional investors." Robert did his best to reassure them, but questions were raised about your commitment to the company, your judgment, your priorities. Victoria listened without interrupting. She had prepared for this, had rehearsed her explanation, had marshaled her arguments. But sitting here now, looking at the faces of people who saw her only as a function of quarterly earnings, she felt something shift inside her. "My daughter almost died yesterday," she said quietly. "She had an internal hemorrhage. She needed emergency surgery and a blood transfusion from a rare donor. I left the meeting because I was told she might not survive the night." The room fell silent. Harold cleared his throat. "We understand that, Victoria, and we're glad she's recovering. But this company employs over 4,000 people. Their livelihoods depend on stable leadership, on investors who trust us to put the business first." "I know." Victoria looked around the table, meeting each pair of eyes in turn. "And I've spent 15 years proving that I can do that. I've sacrificed birthdays and recitals and school plays. I've missed first steps and first words and first days of school. I've given this company everything, and I told myself it was worth it because I was building something important." She paused, feeling the words take shape, feeling the truth of them in her bones. "Yesterday, a janitor saved my daughter's life. A man I had humiliated that very morning. A man I had dismissed as beneath my notice. He gave his blood, gave it willingly and without hesitation, because my daughter was a child in danger and he could help." She thought of Marcus Webb, sitting in the hospital lobby with Lily sleeping in his lap, exhausted and dizzy but refusing to leave until he knew Emma was stable. That man has nothing. No insurance, no savings, no safety net. But he has something I lost a long time ago. He has his priorities straight. He knows what matters. Harold frowned. "Victoria, this is all very touching, but I'm not resigning," Victoria interrupted. "And I'm not apologizing for leaving that meeting. What I am doing is changing. This company is going to become the kind of place where a single father working 2 jobs can get health insurance for his daughter, where people are treated with dignity, regardless of their position, where profit is not the only measure of success." She stood, gathering her papers. "You can support me in this, or you can replace me. But I'm done pretending that being powerful means being cruel." She walked out of the boardroom, leaving 8 stunned faces behind her. That afternoon, Victoria went back to the hospital. Emma was awake now, sitting up in bed and watching cartoons, looking miraculously healthy for a child who had nearly died 24 hours earlier. "Mommy!" Emma's face lit up when Victoria entered. The doctor said, "I'm doing really good. They said the blood from the nice man saved me." Victoria sat on the edge of the bed, smoothing her daughter's hair. "Yes, sweetheart. He did save you. Can I meet him? I want to say thank you." Victoria thought of Marcus Webb, of his quiet dignity, of his gentle refusal to accept her apology. "Maybe someday, baby. If he wants to meet you." A soft knock interrupted them. Victoria turned to find Marcus standing in the doorway, Lily peeking out from behind his legs. "I'm sorry to intrude," he said. The nurse said Emma was doing well. Lily wanted to make her a card. He held up a piece of construction paper covered in crayon drawings, flowers and hearts, and 2 stick figures holding hands. Victoria felt tears spring to her eyes. "Please, come in." Marcus entered slowly, his movements still showing the effects of yesterday's donation. Lily hung back, suddenly shy, clutching the card to her chest. Emma leaned forward, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Are you the man who saved me?" Marcus knelt beside the bed, bringing himself to Emma's eye level. "I just helped a little. The doctors did most of the work." "Daddy gave his blood," Lily announced, finding her courage. "Because you needed it, and he had the right kind. He was really brave." Emma looked at the small girl with wonder. "Is he your daddy? The best daddy in the whole world?" Marcus smiled, the first real smile Victoria had seen from him. "Girls, why don't you show each other the card? I think Emma might like the flowers." As the 2 children bent over Lily's artwork, chattering already like old friends, Victoria stepped closer to Marcus. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. Lily insisted. "She's been asking about Emma all day. She's a wonderful child. You've raised her well." Marcus looked at his daughter, his eyes soft with love. "She's raised me, I think. After her mother died, she was the only thing that kept me going." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the 2 girls. Emma was showing Lily the buttons on her hospital bed, making it rise and fall, while Lily giggled. "I meant what I said yesterday," Victoria finally spoke. "About being sorry. About judging you. I've spent my whole life measuring people by their positions, their power, their usefulness to me. I never stopped to see them as human beings." Marcus turned to look at her, his expression unreadable. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want to do better. Because I want to be the kind of person my daughter can be proud of." She paused, gathering courage. "And because I want to ask you something. Not as an apology. As an opportunity." Marcus was silent for a long moment. "What kind of opportunity?" "Ashford Industries needs to change. We need to treat our employees, all of them, with more respect, more dignity. We need policies that support working parents, that recognize the sacrifices people make, that value human beings over productivity metrics." She took a breath. "I want to start a program for single parents in our company. Health insurance, flexible hours, emergency childcare. And I want you to help me design it." Marcus stared at her. "You want me to?" "What?" "You know what these families need. You've lived it. I can throw money at programs all day, but without someone who understands the reality, it'll be nothing but corporate PR." She met his eyes, hoping he could see her sincerity. "I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a consulting position. Part-time, paid, with full benefits for you and Lily. You can keep your other job if you want, or you can come work for me in a role that uses your engineering background. Whatever you choose, I want your voice in the room." Marcus looked at Lily, who was now braiding Emma's hair with the solemnity of a surgeon. He thought of Sarah, of the dreams they had shared, of the life they had planned before illness and debt had torn it all away. "I've been judged my whole life," he said slowly, "for being poor, for taking jobs that people think are beneath me, for not being able to give my daughter everything she deserves." He turned back to Victoria. "I stopped caring what people thought a long time ago, but this could change something. Not for me, for people like me." He extended his hand. "I'll do it, but I have conditions. The program has to be real, not just a PR stunt." And you have to listen when I tell you things you don't want to hear. Victoria took his hand, feeling the calluses on his palm, the strength in his grip. Agreed. From the hospital bed, Emma called out, "Mommy, Lily says she wants to be my friend. Can she come to my birthday party?" Victoria looked at Marcus. He looked back at her, and for the first time, something like warmth passed between them. "I think that can be arranged," Victoria said. The single-parent support program launched 6 weeks later, on a bright Monday morning in October. The ceremony was held in the main lobby of Ashford Industries, the same lobby where Marcus had once been humiliated, where Victoria had looked at him and seen nothing worth knowing. Today, a small stage had been erected near the elevators, draped with banners announcing the Victoria Webb Single Parent Initiative. Marcus had insisted on the name over Victoria's objections. "It's not about me," she had argued. "It's about the employees, the families. It's about accountability." Marcus had replied, "When your name is on something, you can't walk away from it." The lobby was packed with employees, executives and janitors, engineers and receptionists, all gathered together for the first time anyone could remember. Victoria stood at the podium, Marcus beside her, as she explained the program's benefits. Subsidized health insurance, emergency child care funds, flexible scheduling, paid family leave. "This program exists because one man taught me something I should have learned a long time ago," Victoria said, her voice steady despite the emotion beneath. "He taught me that dignity is not earned. It is inherent. Every person who walks through these doors deserves to be seen, to be valued, to be treated with respect." She turned to Marcus, who shifted uncomfortably under the attention. "Marcus Webb gave his blood to save my daughter's life, knowing I had treated him with contempt. He showed me grace when I deserved none, and he helped me build a program that I hope will change lives." She stepped back from the podium, gesturing for Marcus to speak. He approached the microphone reluctantly, Lily watching from the front row with Emma beside her. "I'm not good at speeches," he began, drawing a ripple of laughter. "I'm better at fixing things, machines, systems, problems with clear solutions." He paused, looking out at the crowd. "But some problems don't have clear solutions. Being a single parent is one of them. Every day is a calculation. How much sleep can I sacrifice? How many hours can I work? How do I make sure my daughter knows she's loved, even when I'm exhausted and scared and barely holding on?" His voice softened. "This program won't solve everything, but it might make the calculation a little easier. It might mean one less parent has to choose between a doctor's appointment and a paycheck. It might mean one more child gets to grow up knowing they matter." He looked at Lily, who smiled back at him with Sarah's eyes. "That's worth something. That's worth everything." 3 months later, on a crisp January afternoon, Victoria and Emma sat in the waiting room of the pediatric cardiology clinic at St. Vincent's Hospital. Emma was there for her final follow-up, the last checkpoint before the doctors declared her fully recovered. Across the room, Marcus and Lily waited for their own appointment. Lily's regular monitoring, the routine they had followed for years. "Miss Ashford?" The nurse called Emma's name, and Victoria stood to follow, but she paused at the doorway, turning back to look at Marcus. "Would you like to get coffee after? All 4 of us? There's a cafe downstairs that makes excellent hot chocolate." Marcus looked at Lily, who nodded eagerly. "We'd like that." The appointments took an hour. Emma's results were perfect, full recovery. No lasting damage from her ordeal. Lily's checkup was equally encouraging. Her heart murmur remained stable, showing no signs of progression. When they met in the cafe afterward, the 2 girls immediately claimed a table by the window. Heads bent together over the coloring pages the nurse had given them. Marcus and Victoria sat nearby, watching their daughters with identical expressions of quiet wonder. "She talks about Lily constantly," Victoria said. "Lily this, Lily that. I think she's found her best friend. The feeling is mutual. Lily asked me last week if Emma could be her sister." Marcus shook his head, smiling. "I explained, that's not quite how it works." Victoria laughed, a sound that had become more common in recent months. They're good for each other. Emma's never had a friend who didn't treat her differently because of who I am. Lily's never had a friend who didn't treat her differently because of who I'm not. They sat in comfortable silence, sipping their coffee, watching snow begin to fall outside the window. Marcus, Victoria said finally, I've been thinking about the program, about everything that's happened. She turned to face him. I know I can never undo what I said to you in that lobby. I know, sorry, doesn't erase the hurt, but I want you to know that meeting you changed me, made me see things I'd been blind to my whole life. Marcus considered her words. He thought of Sarah, of how she had always believed in second chances, in the possibility of change, in the stubborn goodness hidden in every heart. My wife used to say that people are like machines, he replied. Sometimes they break. Sometimes they just need recalibration. He smiled slightly. I think you've recalibrated pretty well. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes. That might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Don't let it go to your head. But he was smiling too. From the window table, Emma called out, Can we go play in it? Please, Daddy, Lily added, her eyes bright with hope. Marcus and Victoria looked at each other. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them, an acknowledgement of wounds healing, of walls coming down, of possibilities opening where none had existed before. What do you think? Victoria asked. Should we let them drag us out into the cold? Marcus looked at his daughter, at her joy and innocence, at the friend she had found against all odds. He thought of Sarah, and how she would have loved this moment, this proof that kindness could transform strangers into family. Maybe that's exactly what we all need, he said. They gathered their coats and headed for the door, two families becoming one, stepping together into the falling snow, ready to begin again.